Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from SABA Satellite Channel from Mayor. Here are tonight's sub-stories. Presidential Leadership Council reviews security, economy, and Red Sea developments. Foreign Minister holds talks with UK and Italian ambassadors on bilateral cooperation and peace efforts. Yemen condemns Houthi attack on Indian cargo vessel, and the Yemeni forces rescue crew after Houthi attack. Welcome back. The Presidential Leadership Council held an exceptional meeting to address escalating security and economic challenges. Chaired by the President of the Presidential Leadership Council, Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi, the full council projected unprecedented political unity while reviewing military readiness, public services, and economic reforms. The leadership fiercely condemned a reckless attack by Iranian-backed militia that resulted in the complete sinking of a civilian Indian cargo vessel in the Red Sea. Officials praised the Yemeni Coast Guard for its swift, high-efficiency response in successfully rescuing the ship's entire crew, warning that ongoing Houthi aggression deepens Yemen's humanitarian crisis and threatens global energy supply chains. The Council called on the international community for decisive and deterrent action. Concluding the meeting, the Council formally welcomed the new Saudi-led multinational naval defense coalition, reaffirming that securing international shipping lanes demands unified regional deterrence and a strong restored Yemeni state. In the interim capital of Aden today, Prime Minister Dr. Shaya Zindani chaired a critical board meeting at the Social Fund for Development. The session focused on evaluating ongoing projects following the recent relocating of the fund's headquarters and executive management to Aden. Discussions centered on fulfilling technical and administrative commitments to international donors. Officials reviewed protocols to manage active contracts, ensuring continuous project implementation and maintaining the fund's prestigious reputation as a national success story. Prime Minister Az-Zindani stressed that strict institutional independence is the cornerstone of the fund's success. He assured international partners that the government is fully committed to safeguarding the fund's transparency and governance. Guaranteeing its vital developmental mission continues across all Yemeni regions without political interference. Foreign Minister Dr. Afrah Azzouba held separate meetings with the British and Italian ambassadors to Yemen, focusing on strengthening bilateral relations, expanding cooperation, and reviewing the latest developments in the country. In talks with British Ambassador Abida Sharif, discussions covered the UK's political, economic, and humanitarian support for Yemen, efforts to strengthen state institutions, promote economic recovery, improve humanitarian conditions. Sharif congratulated Azzouba on her appointment and reaffirmed Britain's commitment to supporting Yemen's security and stability. During a separate meeting with Italy's non-resident ambassador Carlo Balducci, the two sides marked the 100th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Yemen and Italy. They discussed cooperation in diplomatic training, cultural heritage, port management, agriculture, fisheries, and Italy's continued support for development and humanitarian programs. Azzouba briefed both ambassadors on the latest development in Yemen, stressing the need to strengthen state institutions and address threats posed by the Houthi militia to international maritime security and humanitarian operations. Both ambassadors reaffirmed their country's commitment to supporting Yemen and expanding bilateral cooperation. Yemen is strengthening its diplomatic ties with European partners to bolster vital humanitarian efforts. Today, Foreign Minister Dr. Afrah Azzouba held talks with Norway's newly appointed non-resident ambassador to Yemen, Kajuristi Tarmastol. The meeting focused on expanding bilateral cooperation and coordinating the international humanitarian response. During the discussions, Minister Azzouba expressed deep appreciation for Norway's ongoing aid contributions. Turning to regional security, the foreign minister issued a stark warning that continued attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea pose a severe direct threat to international maritime navigation and global trade. In response, Ambassador Tarmastol reaffirmed Norway's steadfast support for the legitimate Yemeni government and its active commitment to backing comprehensive peace efforts. Both diplomats also exchanged mutual congratulations on their respective recent appointments, signaling a positive starting to their continued collaboration. Foreign Ministry has fiercely condemned a Houthi terrorist attack that completely sank a commercial Indian cargo ship, the MSV Faiz Noor Aulia, in the Red Sea. The vessel was struck by an explosive-laden boat in a blatant violation of international maritime law. Authorities praised the rapid response of the Yemeni Coast Guard and the naval forces, who successfully rescued the entire 14-member crew, including 13 Indian nationals, and transported them safely to Mocha port. Expressing full solidarity with India, the ministry warned that this aggression is part of a dangerous series of attacks threatening global trade. Officials reaffirmed the strategic importance of the Saudi-led naval defense coalition, stressing that permanently secure maritime routes requires empowering the Yemeni government and heavily bolstering its Coast Guard forces. The Yemeni Coast Guard and naval forces have successfully rescued the entire crew of an Indian cargo ship after it was completely sunk by a Houthi terrorist attack in the Red Sea. Security sources reported that maritime units rapidly deployed immediately after receiving a distress call, reaching the vessel approximately 13 nautical miles south of Hodeidah in Yemeni territorial waters. The rescue team managed to secure the crew just before the ship plunged into the sea after being struck by an explosive-laden boat. This latest incident comes amid ongoing threats from the Iranian-backed Houthi militia, exacerbating mounting global concerns over the safety of commercial vessels and the freedom of international navigation in the region. Minister of Information Muammar al-Iryani has strongly condemned the Houthi attacks on commercial Indian ship, revealing that the vessel was heading directly to Yemeni ports carrying essential goods destined for the Yemeni people. Al-Iryani clarified that the targeted vessel was not carrying weapons and was not bound for any other nation. He emphasized that by striking civilian food supplies, the Iranian-backed militia is actively imposing a real siege on the nation, deliberately disrupting basic needs, inflating food prices, and expanding the circle of poverty. The minister highlighted a continuous pattern of economic warfare. He recalled previous Houthi strikes on civilian aircraft at Sana'a airport and attacks on oil export terminals in Mukalla, which internationally crippled the government's ability to pay public sector salaries. Al-Iryani concluded that the militia is waging an open war against citizens, systematically weaponizing starvation, isolation, and fear. He warned that the Houthis deliberately keep Yemenis under the weight of poverty and need, believing that an exhausted society is easier to control, blackmail, and subjugate. A new human rights report is raising fresh concerns over the humanitarian and security situation in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. Yemeni Network for Rights and Freedom says it documented thousands of serious violations against civilians over the past 18 months, documenting widespread abuses, organized crime, and worsening conditions. Our report has the details. That was the news bulletin from SABA Satellite Channel from Matter. Thank you for watching and have a good time.